Hi, everybody. My name is Brittany Willis, and I'm an occupational therapist with Early Childhood Cares. And this is part of our video series about how to help picky eaters. And I'm going to be discussing a little bit about mealtime routine, but I just wanted to say that this is a video for Early Childhood Cares, which serves Lane County children from birth to 5 with developmental delays and disabilities. If you have concerns about your child's development, we invite you to call our front desk at 541-346-2578. So I want to just start this video talking about mealtime routine and asking a few questions what that looks like at your house. So while you're watching the video, just thinking about what your answer is, and hopefully we'll cover some of the mealtime routine in this video. If not, there's going to be others that you can look through, and maybe that will identify more of what you're looking um, for and how to support your child with picky eating. So, what is your child doing before a meal or snack? Where does your child eat? How often does your child eat? And who is part of the mealtime routine? And so why we talk about mealtime routines with picky eaters is sometimes the environment and the structure within that environment can help promote more exploration of new foods. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. So, mealtime routine. This is what we call a visual schedule. And it is just one example of what a mealtime routine can look like. We have these that we make pretty routinely. And actually, this is one that we have made and we have them in our office. So if you would like one at home, just go ahead and ask your child's provider, and we can get one sent to you or delivered to you. So, and if you want one structured more towards what your routine at home looks like, we can also make one specifically for what you would like that to look like at your house. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about why some of these things can be important in including in your mealtime routine. So here we have washing hands, sitting at a table, eating with a spoon, drinking, and clearing the table. Um, and washing our hands can be a really nice sensory activity to help our bodies prepare for eating a meal. So it can be kind of a nice transition from playtime to washing hands to then going to the table. Sometimes getting kids to come to the table can be really pretty tricky. So having that washing hands piece right in the middle, some kids really enjoy that. Seeing the bubbles, water. And so it can be kind of a nice lead in to sitting at meals. I think for kids that don't necessarily like to sit or are really active, maybe even including something before washing hands of getting our energy out, whether that be playing outside. As the weather gets nicer, it's kind of easier to do that. Running around, maybe going to the park or doing something active, sometimes including something that of an activity that we call heavy work. So like push pull activities, that would include like climbing, um, helping put something away like groceries, pulling a wagon, pushing a heavy toy stroller, anything that kind of gets our bodies moving, and maybe even incorporating that heavy work before meal times. And that can also increase our hunger. So maybe doing something active, going to washing hands, and then sitting at a table. If that transition from washing hands to sitting at the table can be difficult, sometimes offering choices of like what bowl you would like to eat from, or plate, or maybe if you have different placemats, letting your child choose what they want to bring to the table, can sometimes they can that can get some buy-in and help with that transition. And then you'll see eating and drinking and then clearing the table. And why we include that is sometimes this can lead to kids exploring a new food a little bit more, is when they know that it's going to go away. So, maybe it's a food that they don't like to touch necessarily, but they'll touch it if they are, throwing it into the garbage, or if they are, even just clearing it with the spoon. They're getting that visual, and getting a little bit more comfortable with that new food. And also, clearing the table can just help indicate that there's that clear end of the mealtime. um, so there are a couple benefits to having sort of a cleanup routine. And I just want to say, having a mealtime that's structured, and that's predictable, can help relieve stress for those kids that maybe have a little bit more nervousness about eating, that may be kind of anxious eaters. So just having that predictable routine that they know what is coming next can kind of help reduce that a little bit around meal times and snack times. So, when and what should my child eat? So, this is just one idea regarding a balanced diet, offering a protein, a starch, and a fruit or vegetable at every meal and snack. So, meals and snacks are going to look pretty much the same, in the sense that you're offering three of these items, and really having it be well balanced, and off trying to offer at least two preferred foods that that they're going to eat, and then a non-preferred, or maybe a newer food along with that. So, say they really love goldfish, so that would be your starch. They really love blueberries, that would be your fruit. And maybe you include, just one example would be hummus, or, I'm trying to think of another protein. Maybe they don't like cheese, so you include that, and that is part of their snack. And encouraging eating opportunities every 2.5 to 3 hours, so offering 3 meals and 2 snacks with 2 hours, 2.5 hours in between, can be a way that they help recognize when they're hungry. Oftentimes, when kids or adults graze, they don't develop that sense of hunger. They sort of always are meeting that need with a couple bites here and there. And so, spacing them out a little bit, and you might start this gradually. It might not be all at once, um, just to kind of help increase the time slowly. But you know, basically, you are just trying to get them maybe to explore a little bit. If they're feeling that sense of hunger, maybe they'll explore those new foods a little bit more. Maybe they'll smell it, maybe they'll bring it to their mouth to give it a kiss. Or we're going to talk more about different ways that kids can explore foods and play with foods, that will get them a little bit more comfortable. So we want them to develop that sense of hunger and to feel that. And offering meals and snacks with some time in between where you're just offering water can help with that. And also, I just want to say, sometimes what happens with grazing is, well, we might not be eating as much, because you're kind of always feeling that need with a couple bites here or there. And then also, there might be a big dip in our blood sugar, and we might go for that quick fix. And that quick fix is oftentimes going to be a carb or a snack type food that doesn't have as many calories. I love this visual here. It's another one that we can make and have give to families. It goes over the division of responsibilities, and this is something that was it's a term that Ellen Satter actually she was the one that developed this, and the parents have jobs, and then the child also has jobs, and that's kind of where we call what we call the division of responsibilities. So the parent is the one that is decides what what to eat, when to eat, and where to eat. And the child's job is ultimately whether they're going to eat and how much they're going to eat. So that, that is the major one that they're very much in control of. They will not, they're not going to eat something if they don't want to, but you're at least, and that's again what we talked about, offering 2 meals or 2 snacks and 3 meals. So you're giving them lots of opportunities to maybe look at, maybe touch, maybe smell those new foods, with having those increased opportunities. But whether they eat it is ultimately up to them. So, how to make eating fun, pleasant, and social. Um, so, we all sit to eat, right? Our bodies need to be stable. And you'll see this little one, the picture, she's in a, or he is in a booster seat. Their legs are kind of dangling. We usually do recommend, just for that extra stability of having some sort of a footrest, or I don't know if you have seen them, but they're the TheraBands we could wrap around the chair. So, that can be nice because then it offers a little bit of a movement opportunity along with a little bit of stability. Diaper boxes work really well too, to put under kids' feet. So we want them to have a stable base of support underneath their feet, just to offer maximum stability. And what that does is it can help kids sit for longer periods of time if their body is feeling stable, but it also helps the smaller muscles in their hands and their mouth to be able to pick foods up and to be able to chew them. So, you know, foods we need, to have that stability. And also it helps our trunk. If we're not feeling really stable, it puts a lot more work on our trunk muscles, and that can be really tiring for some kiddos. Um, and um, and so, having that stable base of support helps with our chewing skills and our endurance for chewing. And, another benefit of having meal times together and sitting together, the child is seeing models, not, only with the adults in the house, but maybe also their siblings, and what they're eating. And you can kind of start some nice conversations about, oh, my carrot's really crunchy, or oh, my peach is a little slimy, but it's really sweet. So giving them some words and some descriptions about foods that they may not be eating, but they're getting some really nice information about, what that looks like when mom takes a bite, or, what how you're describing it to them. And so, I think that can be a really powerful tool, and that's how children learn how to eat, is just through models. We talked a little bit about sensory needs, how some kids need a little bit of movement, and we have some things that we can loan to families, whether that's, TheraBand to offer some stability, but a little bit of resistance and movement. We have some wiggle cushions that can be kind of nice, that you can put underneath them, so it kind of offers a little bit of movement there. And so there's different options. So again, if you have more questions about that, definitely talk to your uh, service provider. And then this idea about rehearsals. We uh, kids need a lot of exposure and what we ultimately call rehearsals with foods, before they may even, bring it close to their mouth or put it in their mouth. They need to see that food. They need to learn more about it, and they can do this through being offered the food at meal times and having those little rehearsals. And kids do need a lot of rehearsals with a new food before they will ultimately try it by taking a bite or tasting it, but by licking it. But I think it's first just getting them comfortable with that food kind of close to them. And it might not be on their plate to start. Maybe it's on their learning plate, and we'll talk about that more. We're going to have another video about learning plates. But each time they're being offered that food is another rehearsal, and so they're getting information about that food and hopefully gaining a little bit more comfort just being around that food. So, eating is very complex. It involves all of our senses, and it involves our postural muscles, our oral and facial muscles in our arms, in our hand muscles, which we talked a little bit about in the previous slide. And it involves our vital organs of our body. So, if, say, a kiddo that's had multiple um, medical issues regarding their digestion, or that child may be feeling like it doesn't feel great after I eat a meal. So they're not getting that positive reinforcement with eating that others may be getting. Maybe it causes them to have some tummy troubles. So we want to look at it from a really broad scope and not just thinking about taking a bite, but looking at what is it that may be causing some of their picky eating. Could it be other issues like, oh, their body doesn't feel good after they eat. Um, so we look at that as well, and then I thinking about it as when by about 6 months, children are more in control of their eating, and really at that point, eating becomes a learned behavior. I think a big myth out there is, oh, if they're hungry, they will eat, and that's not always the case. And so we are here to kind of help support that, and how to help kids learn and get comfortable and with new foods. And so there's different types of eaters, and I think we're going to be covering this topic a little bit later in a different video. But that was all that I have regarding meal times, and going into a little bit more about how eating can be complex, and how meal times can really help in supporting picky and resistive eaters. So thanks everybody for tuning in.